afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you all joining us for the pre-practice press conference for the Vermont Catamounts. Please note that the Vermont locker room is now open to the media. We are joined this afternoon by senior forward Delaney Richardson and senior guard Emma Utterback. We will begin with any in-person questions, and if time allows, follow up with any virtual questions. For the in-person questions, please wait until the microphone has been handed to you, and please be sure to state your name and affiliation. We can start right up front.
Hi, Pat Eatonrob from the Associated Press. Can you guys just describe what it's kind of like walking into this arena for perhaps your first time, seeing the banners and all of that, and being able to put that out of your head, knowing you have a game to play tomorrow? And then, again, this is not a UConn team like some teams in the past that have been, like, unbeatable. And how do you guys feel in terms of confidence going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. We've been here for, I think, 5-10 minutes, and it's so cool walking in the locker room and, having it all decorated with the V-Cats and everything, and that's really, really fun. But it's definitely something that we have to, enjoy today and then kind of, forget about and focus on the game for tomorrow. So I think we're going to take our time to, really take in the experience today and then be focused up for tomorrow.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's very easy to be in awe because this is a very successful program for a very long time, and we grew up watching UConn, so it's very cool to be here in this experience. But once we step on that floor, it's go time, and all of the nerves and all that stuff, it's got to go away, and we got to stay focused.
Carl Adamek, Journal-Inquirer, Manchester, Connecticut. A little bit off the game, if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me, the two of you. Matt Ferretto is a local athlete, covered him in high school. Can you tell me, each of you, have gotten to know him, and if you have a good story about him, and just, how, I guess, maybe inspiring or however you want to describe it, his story is to you guys?
Yeah, me and Delaney are very cool with Matt. He's a good dude. He came in and he's just been very nice to everyone, and everyone's taking him in with open arms. And I think that he fits in very well with that program. And he's done a good job at molding with what Coach Becker wants, and you can see with the success of the team, and he's been a big part of that. So.
Yeah, I would say he's been so successful on the court this year, but also I've never seen him without a smile on his face, so that's really, really a cool thing, because I think he's so optimistic about his opportunity to come back and play again, and I think he just is enjoying it, and from an outsider's perspective, it looks like he's really, really successful and having fun. So.
CT Insider. You guys have had a couple days now to scout UConn and watch their film. What is it about them that you think is the biggest challenge you'll have to overcome?
I think a big thing for them is they have a lot of height and strength, and the higher up you go, that tends to happen. So that's to be expected. But we have to really watch out for their transition game. They love to get out and run on the floor, so we got to communicate. It's going to be really loud in the gym, which we love, but we got to be prepared for that moment and over-communicate and be extra loud because of the circumstance. So we've been preparing for it, but it's definitely something we got to pay attention to.
Yeah, I would say the same exact thing. Their size, they're very tall, very strong, and that's something that is hard to scout for because it is what it is. And so I think that's we have to focus on that. We have to focus on how to combat that with things that maybe aren't as conventional. But yeah.
Ken Drake, Fox 44, ABC 22. What's been the biggest message that you Coach and you guys have talked about going into this game?
I think the biggest message is, we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but UConn is a very, very successful program, and it's very easy to kind of get caught up on the name, but we never want to go into a game not thinking that we can pull a win out, and I think that's the biggest thing. step on that floor and own it and own the experience, and don't let the moment get too big. Anyone can win a basketball game no matter how good a team is, and I think if we play with that chip on our shoulder, with that underdog mentality, and say we get overlooked and we capitalize off of that, I think it could be a really good game for us. So playing with confidence and just like we've been here before is going to be huge.
Along with that, we've been preparing since July, and so we have to remember everything that we've done to get ready for this moment, and we can't dwell on the mistakes or anything. We have to remember that we've been on a really good winning streak. We've figured out how to win some games that maybe were really tough games, and that's definitely something we have to keep in mind. So.
Jack Main, NBC5 from Burlington. One thing that you guys touched a lot on back at Patrick was, drawing on that experience that you guys had from the Indiana game. But I'm curious, what else throughout the season have you guys kind of learned about yourselves that'll make you successful tomorrow night?
I think a big thing that our team has learned is finding confidence when other teams are going on runs. I think that's shown a lot of growth in our program. I feel like in years prior, when other teams were going on runs and there's a lot of momentum swinging their way, and maybe we were out on an away game and their crowd was getting into it, we started freaking out a little bit, and we weren't able to pull out those games. But I think this year, we were really able to understand, like, every team's going to have their runs. It's how the game of basketball works. And we were allowed to we stayed more calm in those situations. And I think we were able to, create more runs and get out of those ruts quicker. So I think that's a pretty big thing that I've noticed.
I think we've also been focusing on, and we've talked a lot about this, is like mentally preparing for the game rather than just physically preparing. And I think that is what has certainly helped us bounce back quicker from mistakes and things that don't go our way. And I know, like, a crowd is when the crowd's all cheering for you at home, that's helpful. But I think that's definitely something that we have to mentally prepare for, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far. So,
In this fast-paced environment with all this attention, how do you find a moment to step away and kind of collect yourself mentally?
You got it.
I was just going to say, I think we're a very together team, and I think we all lean on each other, and I think that's our biggest way to get out of the outside noise and just focus on, okay, there's 5 of us on the court, there's 10 or so of us on the bench. Like, let's all just stay together in this moment, and let's focus on what's happening right here rather than, like, out there. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think specific moments where we kind of find each other is during free throws, timeouts, especially like media timeouts where we have a little bit more time to kind of gather. We've done breathing stuff before when it's been really intense, when we really feel like we need to do it, and it's actually really helped. And so I feel like those times, those like small seconds that we have together, we really make it worth it, and you can tell in our successes that it works.
Can you guys just explain, Roger Cleveland from the Waterbury Republican American, can you explain what your feelings were initially when you saw that you were matched up against UConn in the tournament?
For me personally, I was extremely excited. It's a team that I've looked up to ever since I was a kid. So to not only win the first time in the America East Championship, but to also play a team that you so highly look up to is a dream to me. It's a dream to play on this floor, and I knew that our team was going to own it, and I knew that we were going to rise to the challenge. And so I don't know. My first thought was definitely excited.
Yeah, me too. I think it being not as far away from home is really good to hopefully get a little bit of a fan base. And then thinking about like how exciting this could be playing against a historically known team that we've all been looking up to since we've been playing at a young age, and that's just super exciting. So I think definitely that.
And for those of us that don't know you guys very well, can you just describe the strengths of your team and what it is that made you a conference champion this year?
I think our ability to have a balanced attack. I think that we have a lot of talented players on this team that work hard, and it pays off. And on the floor, you can definitely see their hard work they put in the off season and outside of practice as well. And I think that our togetherness, it brings out a lot of other facets, like really good defense. When we're together and we play a really good defense with really good communication, we're able to turn our defense into offense, and we love transition game. So I think for us, the main thing is to be together, and everything else kind of comes after that.
Yeah, we focus a lot on our defense, and so team defense is our number one thing, and that's how we kind of describe it. That and then having a lot of different weapons that on any given night, someone could score 20 points, and the next night someone else could. So.
Carl Adamek, Journal-Inquirer again. When you're celebrating after you beat Albany, from a player's perspective, what were you celebrating? Winning the conference or going to the NCAA tournament?
That's a tough question because it's both, obviously. But I think in that moment we were focused on what we had just done. And then I think we focused more on the NCAA tournament kind of the next day or on Selection Sunday. But in that moment, I think we were focused on, this is crazy what we just did, and we're so, so excited.
Yeah, I think I agree with Delaney. And I think initially it was like, oh my gosh, we just did it, and all that hard work paid off. And I think all of us imagined that and visualized that all season long. And so the fact that it came to life was like, for a second, we're like, no way, and like we did it. And then I think as, time kind of went on, we were like, wait a minute. Okay, now we're going to the NCAA tournament. We've all wanted to do this since we were kids. And then it was just like a wave of, a lot of like pride for our team and for our community. And it was really exciting.
How hard is it when you're waiting as you're going through your season, I should say, when you know that no matter pretty much what you do during the regular season, it's kind of come down to 3 days in March. How tough is that?
I mean, I think that all those games are in preparation for those 3 games. I think we went into those 3 games with a lot of confidence because of our regular season. But at the end of the day, like, we're facing each game first, like, and not really thinking in the future too much, because when you think too much in the future, you tend to build a lot of pressure, and it kind of gets in the way of the present. So we really tried to stay focused on the present. But, it is really hard to do that at times. But, yeah, I think the fact that we were so successful in the regular season, we gained a lot of confidence from that, and we just kept it rolling.
And this will be our last question.
Lila Bromberg with the Hartford Courant. You guys mentioned, watching UConn teams growing up. Just, what were some of your favorite players or teams and moments to, watch growing up?
I would say I really liked watching Katie Lou Samuelson play, not only because I'm pretty sure we were the same number, but she was really, I think we were similar positions too, and so that was really cool to watch. So.
Yeah, I think for me it was definitely Maya Moore. She is extremely talented, and she's been very successful in her career, and so growing up, I loved watching her.
Awesome. Thank you, Delaney. Thank you, Emma.
Thank
guys
you.
Head back down to the locker room.
Thanks, guys.
Coach.
It's me?
Yes. Good afternoon again, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the second half of the Vermont pre-practice press conference. Please welcome Vermont head coach, Elisa Gresge. As a reminder, for in-person questions, please wait for the microphone to be handed to you, and please be sure to state your name and affiliation. And for online questions, please use the Zoom chat function. We'll start up front.
Hi, Pat Eatonrod with the Associated Press. Coach, both Delaney and Emma were talking about growing up, idolizing UConn players and watching UConn all the time, and how exciting it was to step into Gamble and know that they're going to be on the floor tomorrow. So how do you keep that from overwhelming your team? The fact that they're playing a UConn team which has shown they can be beaten this year, and still enjoy this moment of being in this place that a lot of girls grow up dreaming of playing in.
Yeah, we've talked about it. You got to identify that, talk about it, and know that why are we here, right? We're here to play hard, to fight. We worked really hard to get here. And so kind of that mentality of we got to rip off the name UConn, and it's a faceless opponent in a sense. And remember that when tip happens. But before it, enjoy it. Look around, take a moment, realize you worked really hard to get to this level, and play in an amazing university against a really historical program. So take that in for a second. But then when tip goes off, we got to go to work. We're here to show everybody what the University of Vermont has worked so hard to do in so many years. So we talk about it. We identify it, and then we're going to go take care of business.
Lila Bromberg, the Hartford Current. You guys have 6 international players on your roster. UConn has a lot as well. Just what has been your approach there in recruiting internationally, and how have you seen that grow across the sport in recent years?
So our situation's a little unique. Most of our most of our international student athletes are first years, one sophomore. And for us, it is kind of was late in recruiting, and I feel like internationally, while the world is very small and there's a lot of international recruiting, there's a lot of players over there that either decide late or haven't been seen yet. So we dove into international recruiting this last year late, and that's where I felt like we found some players. We missed out on a couple of players in the portal. And so that's really how we went international. But everybody knows everybody now. The game is, you're tied to everybody, and it's really easy to recruit internationally now. And so we see it a lot now. There's a lot of great players coming from overseas. For us, it was, I think, a couple of players that got missed, and fortunately we found them late.
Maggie Bononi, CT Insider. You played against UConn yourself. What do you remember from that game here in Stores? And then just to see Gino still coaching the program, obviously a different program now, but to be able to experience that now as an adult and as a coach.
The positive was we were up 3 at halftime, so that was good, right? And then the second half came, and it was 44-21 in the second half, so that was tough. But it was a great experience. It was preseason, my junior year. I was part of a group that was able to understand what an awesome opportunity it was, but playing UConn is only going to make you better. So playing them tomorrow is only going to make our program stronger and our players better, and that's what it's about. You got to play the best in order to be the best. And sorry, what was the second question? I know you asked me something else.
What's it like to see Gino
Oh, Gino.
this program, and how it's changed since then?
So I grew up watching Gino. He's done so much for the game, and I've always been the type, keep winning. I didn't want to change anything. I love that. You can keep winning. That is so impressive. So I've really always been so impressed by him and what he's able to do. It's so hard. I know people take it for granted, but it's incredible what he's doing, and I think it's a huge part of the game. I'm not looking forward to the day that Gino's not on the sideline. I think it's incredible what he's done for our game and what he's done for USA basketball. He's really helped elevate this game, and I'm a big fan of his.
Ken Drake, ABC 22, Fox 44 out of Burlington. Coach, Delaney's mentioned a couple times how you guys have had a goal to be here since July. And there's probably been messages throughout the year, winning the conference championship. Was there a specific message this week, maybe even if it wasn't just about UConn, but just a message for the team?
Is staying true to who we are. I think that is something, and this group has surprised me in a lot of ways, but winning 17 games in a row is pretty tough. And the one thing they've really done is stay true to who they are. This is a big moment, but we got to remember who we are and what we work so hard at. We can't let the moment get too big for us. And I think they've done that, and even in our championship game, low scoring, but they stayed true to what we're really good at, and that was staying together and playing defense. I think we're going to have to stay true to who we are in this game because it's going to be really tough. And if we start going, individual directions, that's only going to give UConn a chance to really try to run up a score on us.
Daniel Connolly, the UConn blog. You mentioned the 17 straight wins, but you guys almost started 0-3 in America East play. So what was the change? What switched for you guys to, go on this run?
You are very correct. We were on the road at Bryant and had to hit a big shot to take the game into overtime and then gutted it out in overtime. Really, halftime is probably the moment that I realized, okay, we're going to challenge this group, and they can go one of two ways. They can give up, or they can find a way to fight, and they did. And from there on out, the word had been grit, and they just have run with it. Every time we've challenged them and kind of got after them, they responded in a really good way. And, not all teams can respond to kind of how we got after them. But it wasn't working. We were 0-2 in league. Something was not working, and we decided to get after them a little bit harder and see how they would respond, and man, did they run with it. So, yeah, we could have been 0-3, and maybe at one point I was thinking we might not win a conference game. But they surprised me, and they proved me wrong, and they wanted it. And I think that's a big part of our leadership. We kind of left that locker room like, this is your team. So you tell us what team was going to come out in the second half. It's no longer on the coaches. We know you're prepared, but you guys got to want it. And I think our leadership did a great job, Emma and Dell sitting here and Carly Whiteside, of bringing the team together and really refocusing on all the hard work they put in and knowing that they believe in themselves and they have talent and they can do this. And the other piece with that is we've really spent a lot of time on the mental side of the game. And so every Monday our team meets for a half hour off the court working on the mental side of the game and all the stuff that comes with the mental side of everything. And I really do think that's been huge for this group. They are very intelligent young women. And there's a real part of the mental side of the game that we weren't really focusing on. And I think focusing on that really has helped them get through some challenging times. Obviously a lot of stress leading into, okay, this is the 15th game, now it's the 16th game. There's a lot of stress in that. And I think them spending the time on the mental side has really helped them get through it.
Coach Jacob Russo from the Free Press. You had practice at Hartford this morning. How did that go? And you think the nerves have settled in now that you guys are here?
Practice morning was good. We've seen some offense again, which is great after that championship game. So I think they're playing loose. They're playing hard. I think the nerves are going to be there when tip happens, and rightfully so. But we're in a situation that nobody expects us to win. So you got to play loose. You got to have fun. You got to play hard. If you play tight, it's already over. You play in awe, it's already over. We're talking a lot about it. But we've been through a lot this season in stressful moments, so I'm hoping that when that tip goes up, they remember that and they stay true to who they are, and they remember all the mental training that we've done to prepare them for this opportunity.
Maggie Vanoni again from CT Insider. Kind of speaking what you just said of stressful environments, what do you hope your team takes away from playing at Indiana earlier this season to now playing here in Storrs, where the crowd will probably be just as big, if not maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more rowdier? What do you hope they take away from that?
We've talked a lot about it. We went back and watched those clips, and one thing that surprised me when I went back and watched it is we really did play loose offensively. And we had two Indiana kids that idolized Indiana growing up, so I was really nervous how they were going to handle it. And those two, they played like they had something to prove, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that we take that same experience into this game because we've been there. Obviously, Indiana is a really talented team. UConn's a really talented team. they're comparable as far as how talented they are on both sides of the basketball. So we've been through it. So in some ways, I'm hoping it's not a culture shock because they've actually been through it. I think the crowd's going to be awesome. Fortunately, we had that experience, and our nice gym at Patrick has been really, really loud and a lot of energy, so the players can't hear us, which I think prepares you for a game like this. They got to do it. They're ready. They know what they're doing, but they have to do it a lot on their own.
Coach, how do you scout a UConn team that was missing two of its best players until the Big East tournament? I mean, the film you see on them from the regular season isn't the team you're going to be facing tomorrow. So how do you do that?
Yeah, well, fortunately, we have a couple of the postseason games to see. Obviously, AZ back, but they're so talented, and we know their capability that whoever they have on the court, they're all weapons in their own way. We're going to have to be able to team defense, rotate, put pressure where we can. But honestly, I don't think it really matters who's on the floor. I think they all know what their jobs are. And I think Gino gets a great job out of them. He puts them in the right spots to be successful. They share the ball. So I don't really care who's on the floor. At the end of the day, I know that they know their system inside and out. Now we got to focus on the tendencies, and obviously some of the players who have been injured, we know that they can score the ball. So we're ready for them to come out and try to hit some shots on us.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I have one more, if you don't mind. Just as a coach of a mid-major in this day of the portal, do you worry at all that bigger programs are sitting here at the NCAA tournament with your success, scouting your players? And how do you deal with that with your players and try to convince them to stay with you?
It's a great question. Yeah, I think the scouting is going on all year long, and when you make it to the big dance, obviously you're in the spotlight. At the end of the day, we're going to stay true to who we are, and we take care of people, and we give our everything to them. And if they decide that they need something else, I'll be their biggest supporter. I'm never going to tell somebody they can't do something or give them a hard time about it. If they choose to go somewhere else, that's their choice. But I think they understand what they have at the University of Vermont. It's a special place, and they really support women's basketball. And the grass isn't always greener, but sometimes they have to find that out on their own, and it's part of it. At the end of the day, it's part of it, the transfer portal. And I've always said, even in recruiting, when players don't pick the University of Vermont, it's okay. It's okay, and if they change their mind, then maybe we'll get somebody that's trying to transfer on the back end. It's part of it, and as coaches, we can move somewhere, right? So, hey, I'm going to give everything to everybody that's part of our program, and if they decide they need to go somewhere else for whatever reason, I wish them the best. I can't have hard feelings. Everybody has to make decisions what's best for them, and it's tough. And I don't want to see anybody leave, but it's the reality of it. And then we got to go find somebody else that wants to come and be part of the University of Vermont.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.